Hello there you guys, welcome to one of my videos. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has won a new £9 million a year contract at Manchester United. Sources at Old Trafford say talks are set to begin any day on a new deal. Later this month, Solskjaer will be into the final year of his 3-year contract. Earlier on this season, it said that Solskjaer's future was in doubt because he admitted that nobody had spoke to him over a new contract. Solskjaer is set to have a final say on our transfer incoming deals. And apparently, Man United will hold a transfer summit next week to discuss our transfer targets. Woodward recently did a statement saying that the progress by Solskjaer and the players this season is clear. So in that aspect, the board are backing Solskjaer. I think there's a good chance that Solskjaer is now going to get the backing he deserves, because we have got a director of footballing. It's John Murtough. And he's our first ever director of football. I said Man United needed a director of football because that's one of the structural changes that we need at the club, and we was in for the director of football for a while. And John Murtough, he knows the club inside out because he's been at Man United for 7 years. And I said it would be beneficial to get someone in who knows the club well. And Darren Fletcher is our technical director. This year's summer transfer window is the biggest in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's managerial career, because we need signings. I'm expecting us to make around 3 or 4 signings in the summer. Yes, Solskjaer said a few weeks ago it may not be business as usual due to the coronavirus pandemic, but he said he's only interested in bringing in players that will be a perfect fit for the club. In the transfer windows Solskjaer's enjoyed so far, I don't think he's been backed enough. And he's enjoyed 4 transfer windows as permanent Man United manager. Woodward has come out several times to show his support for Ole. He did say towards the end of last year he will back him with a long-term plan centred around summer transfer windows. And even enjoying them bad periods, Woodward assured that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's job was safe. The board has been one of the biggest problems at the club for a while, reflecting now poor our recruitment policy's been. We've overpaid for players, and the managers that we've had have not got the players that they wanted to recommend in. Woodward's been at the club since 2012, and the Glazers have been at the football club since 2005. Like I've said in regards to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I don't think he's the long-term manager for Man United. But I think he does deserve at least another season at the football club. There is a lot of Manchester United fans that have criticised Solskjaer, and there's a lot of Man United fans that are demanding Ole Gunnar Solskjaer out of the club. But if we was to eventually sack Solskjaer, who would come in to replace him? As far as I'm aware, at the moment, no one is available. He has to win a trophy at Manchester United to avoid the sack. He's not yet won a trophy as Man United manager, and he's been Man United manager over 2 years. We haven't won a trophy since 2017, and that's nowhere near good enough to our standards. A club of our stature needs to be winning trophies, and like I've already mentioned, the Europa League is a chance of a trophy, and the FA Cup is a chance of a trophy. Obviously, we know we're not going to win the league. We're too far behind Man City. But earlier on this season, we was in the title race, and at one point we was top. I don't see us winning the title under Solskjaer. We haven't won the Premier League since 2013, so we haven't won it now for like 8 years. Top 4 is our aim. I can almost assure we will finish in the top 4. It would be a disaster if we finished out of the top 4. I've already gone through with you what would represent a good season for Man United, and that would be to finish second and win a trophy. Then that gives us something to build on going on into next season. This is Solskjaer's second full season at the club. Reflecting now on he's been at Man United, he has gained some managerial experience and he has learnt quite a bit on the job. My 2 big concerns about Ole is his decision making, because in the vast majority of his games at Man United he has been tactically naive, especially in a lot of the big games. But there again, there's been some games where he's showed tactical flexibility. But for me, he doesn't show tactical flexibility enough. He's got to show it persistently. And my other big concern about him, he hasn't got that proven pedigree as a manager. You know, did we make a mistake giving him the job permanently? Did we give him the job too soon? You know, maybe you could say we should have waited until the end of that particular season to decide or not whether to give him the job. We give Solskjaer the job permanently because he did very, very well as the interim manager. In that 3-month period, he won 14 games out of 19 in all competitions. You know, Solskjaer, we love him a lot. He's a club legend. He was a great player for the football club for 11 years. He flourished under Sir Alex Ferguson's guidance. And, you know, with him being a club legend, our board have got a soft stance on him. Disregarding him being a club legend, he probably wouldn't have been Manchester United manager now, because we have endured very, very bad periods under Ole where you can turn around and say he was lucky not to be sacked. You know, was poor at the first part of this season, was poor at the first part of last season. We endured our worst start to a Premier League season for 30 years. But we've got to credit Solskjaer in quite a few aspects. You know, we're second in the Premier League. At one point, he got us top for the first time in like 8 years. You know, we've got a fantastic away record. We haven't lost away from home in the Premier League for over a year. We're in the FA Cup quarter-finals. He's got us to the Europa League last 16. Got us to the EFL Cup semi-final this season. Lost 2-0 to Man City. Did well last season in his first full season at the club. Guided us to 3 semi-finals. Got us qualification for the Champions League and got us a 3rd place finish. You can probably say there's been progress from last season. Solskjaer has made some good signings. He has spent nearly £300 million. He's also brought quite a few young players in, and I do like the way that Ollie's promoted the youth, because he's given a lot of young players their chances. And we've also seen a lot of players depart the club since he got recommended in. And we've enjoyed good periods under him where we have seen consistency. During them good periods, in some games he's got the best out of the team and he's improved certain players. Solskjaer knew when he'd taken over at Man United it was going to be a massive job, despite him knowing the club inside out. He knew he had to come in and bring the consistency back. He knew he had to come in and get the right players in. He knew he had to come in and get rid of the deadwood. And to his credit, he has done that. And I think Solskjaer's handled things very, very well. But, if we was to eventually sack Solskjaer, it wouldn't really solve all the issues, would it? Maybe in some aspects it would, some aspects it wouldn't, because when we are inconsistent, not all of the blame stems from Solskjaer anyway. He's accountable for some of it, obviously. But for the last 8 years, Man United have been playing catch up. We've had different managers with different philosophies. We sacked 3 managers. Since Fergie left, we sacked Moyes, Van Gaal and Jose Mourinho. So Ollie's our 4th permanent manager since Ferguson. Not only that, we spent over £1 billion on players since Ferguson retired. And we must have brought around 37 players in. And mistakes have been made by Man United in the last 8 years. That's one of the main explanations why we haven't been as consistent as we'd like to have been. But we haven't been the same team since Ferguson retired, and no one is going to replicate what Ferguson did, and no one's going to last as long as Ferguson did. Ferguson endured a 27-year tenure at Man United, won 30-odd trophies, so reflecting on that, he brought success to the club. But Ferguson didn't settle in straight away because he didn't win out in his first 4 years at Man United. Before Ferguson, we was inconsistent because we weren't good under Ron Atkinson, we weren't good under Frank O'Farrell. We got relegated under Frank O'Farrell back in 1974. We weren't good under Wilf McGuinness either. I think Wilf McGuinness endured like 18 months at Man United. Just went there. So yeah, Solskjaer is inheriting players from other managerial eras. But he's got rid of quite a few players Mourinho brought in. The vast majority of the players Louis Van Gaal brought in are no longer here. But there's still some players here from the Van Gaal era, still matter here from the Moyes era. There's only 2 here now from the Ferguson era, and that's Phil Jones and David De Gea. And like I said to you yesterday, Solskjaer is on thin ice. And Man United's season is back on thin ice due to our injury crisis. We have got 7 players out with injury. We've obviously got Rashford out with an ankle injury. He did have the scan on his ankle. Turned out there was no ligament damage, it just bruised and swollen. He won't be playing tonight against West Ham. Ollie's hopefully will be available for the game against AC Milan in the second leg. Martial got a hip injury. It said he was set to have a scan on his hip. He sustained it in the game against Milan. Cavani's out with injury still. Pogba's still out with a thigh injury. Pogba is a big miss. I can't wait till he returns because he brings creativity in that midfield. We're far too defensive without him. The last game Paul Pogba played was the 3-3 draw with Everton. Juan Mata, he's out, but he doesn't get in our team anyway. Donny van der Beek, he's got a muscular problem. Phil Jones is out with injury. He's been out for over a year. De Gea is now back in Manchester. He's self-isolating, I think. Solskjaer said there's a chance he will be back in goal tonight, but I don't think it'll happen. I think it will be Dean Henderson. But yeah, like I say, there has been a lot of players on our agenda. Yesterday, I give you the news on Pau Torres and Jules Koundé. Apparently, Man United want to sign Pau Torres and Jules Koundé. Because a centre-back is a priority. Now, according to ESPN, Pau Torres has emerged as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's top target. It says we can get Pau Torres for less than his £56 million release clause if Villarreal failed to qualify for Europe. And Man United have been in contact with Villarreal over Pau Torres. Pau Torres has been at Villarreal for a long time. He's been there around 19 years. Because he was in their youth setup for a long time, wasn't he? I think he's made over 100 appearances for Villarreal in their senior team. He's got a contract with them until 2024. Do you think Pau Torres would go well alongside Maguire in our back line? And Jules Koundé's teammate Diego Carlos said that Jules Koundé is ready to play for a big club. Diego Carlos spoke highly about Jules Koundé. Now, there was narratives coming out earlier on this season saying that we was unwilling to meet Jules Koundé's £68 million release clause, but it did mention that we was prepared to pay around £61 million, and it actually said at one point we were considered the favourites to sign him. Jules Koundé's performances this season for Sevilla have been good. I think he's been at Sevilla almost 2 years. Sevilla paid £22 million for him from Bordeaux in the summer of 2019. He's got a contract with Sevilla until 2024. Do you think he'd go well alongside Harry Maguire in our back line? Raphael Varane, there's still narratives coming out about him. The most recent narrative said that Raphael Varane could now stay at Real Madrid. But the AS recently said that he's decided he wants to come to the Premier League in the summer. And there's been narratives coming out saying that Real Madrid are prepared to sell Raphael Varane on one condition: he must inform Real Madrid on his decision to leave. Now, it said Raphael Varane was valued at, £61 million. OK Dairo came out last month, was it, and said that Real Madrid reduced their asking price for Raphael Varane to £43 million. I'd certainly take Raphael Varane at Man United. He's a world-class centre-half. He's highly experienced. He's 27 years of age. He's been a long-serving player at Real Madrid. He's been with them 10 years. He's made over 300 appearances and he's won 18 major honours. Back in 2018, Woodward was prepared to sanction a £100 million move for Raphael Varane. Sergio Ramos has been another centre-half on our agenda, and Kalidou Koulibaly's been on our agenda, and I think we've been in for Ben White before. But yeah, I think we're looking to strengthen up in 4 positions. But the 2 priorities is a new centre-back and a new forward. Now, you know the news on Erling Haaland from Borussia Dortmund. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would love to sign him. It would be good to see Solskjaer reunite with Haaland because Solskjaer knows the player well. Solskjaer was the one that gave Erling Haaland his debut at just the age of 16 at Mulder. Back in December 2019, Solskjaer and Woodward went to Norway to meet up with Haaland to negotiate a possible move to Man United. Earlier on this season, Solskjaer made an admission regarding Haaland. He says he's following Erling Haaland's progress, and he said he keeps in touch with Erling Haaland. And Erling Haaland is our number one transfer priority. Now, next year, he will be available for around £68 million because that's when his release clause becomes active. But there's been so many clubs in for him. You know, the Daily Mail recently said that Man City are leading the race for him. It said the other week Chelsea are confident that they can get him. And he says they was willing to offer him a financial package, but it did mention Haaland wasn't interested in going to Chelsea. Since Haaland's arrival at Dortmund, he has been a revelation. You know, he's been at Dortmund over a year. Dortmund paid £17 million for him and he's under contract with Dortmund until 2024. And, you know, do you think we could still sign Sancho in the summer? I think Man United are going to sell players in the summer, so in that aspect will generate money and it will help us with our rebuilding process. You know, I think there's a good chance that Juan Mata will leave the club in the summer. Juan Mata's current contract expires in the summer. There is an option to trigger his contract for a further year. Solskjaer said earlier on this season he wasn't surprised that Juan Mata was linked to a move away from the club. Apparently 3 Italian clubs have been in for him. Earlier on this season, Mata rejected an £18 million a year contract offer to play in Saudi Arabia. Doesn't get in R11 now, but I think he's had a good career at Man United. He's been at the club over 6 years. We got Mata in a deal worth £40 million from Chelsea back in 2014. There's a lot of United fans saying that we should sell Anthony Martial in the summer, because Martial has been out of form for the vast majority of this season. He's had chances, but he just hasn't converted them. But Solskjaer has backed him to rediscover his form, and he mentioned that he's been impressed with Martial's work rate. To Martial's credit, he's done pretty well though in his last 2 games. If we sell Martial in the summer, I'd reckon we'd get around 30 million. If we decide to sell him in the summer, it said Erling Haaland and Harry Kane are our 2 top targets. But Martial was good last season and he was good in his debut season under Louis van Gaal. Martial has been at the club over 5 years. Solskjaer, I think, gave him the number 9 shirt last season. Edinson Cavani, there's a good chance he's going to leave the club in the summer. Now, Solskjaer's recently come out and said that Edinson Cavani is closer to Boca Juniors than staying at Manchester United. But he did say, prior to the game against Milan, I think, that his future has not yet been decided. Now, Edinson Cavani's father was talking not so long ago. He said Edinson Cavani's unhappy at the club. He's not comfortable in England and he wants to leave Man United. Reports in Argentina said that Cavani's decided to leave Man United after just a season. He's rejected the contract extension and he wants to join Boca Juniors on a 3-year contract. To Cavani's credit, he has made a fantastic impact since he's come in. Earlier on this season, it actually said Cavani wanted to stay at Man United beyond this season. And Solskjaer said he was set for contract extension talks. We got Cavani on a free transfer last summer. He signed a 1-year contract with Man United with an option of a 2nd year. I think there's a good chance we'll sell Nemanja Matic in the summer, because he's not one of our first choice midfielders, but he still gets his chances and he can play well, but in the vast majority of the games he plays is inconsistent. I've always had my strong reservations about Matic anyway, because he's always been a slow player. You know, Matic has been at the club almost 4 years. We got him in a deal worth £40 million from Chelsea back in 2017. Pogba, you know, he could still leave the club in the summer. Phil Jones, I want him to leave this year. I'm surprised he didn't leave in January, but Solskjaer said he's going to be given a second chance. Jones is only the outfield player that's still with us since the Sir Alex Ferguson era. There's a good chance we could offload Sergio Romero. You know, we could sell David De Gea in the summer, so we can make Dean Henderson our first choice goalkeeper. Recent narrative said we're willing to listen to offers for De Gea. The Sun said not so long ago that De Gea was wanted by PSG because Pochettino's looking for a number one. To replace Keylor Navas. Yeah, he's valued at around 50 million is De Gea. You know, De Gea's got 2 years left on his contract and he's on £375,000 a week. It recently said we're looking at 3 goalkeepers to replace De Gea. De Gea's been a long servant at the club. This is his 10th season at Manchester United. You know, a few years ago he was regarded as the best goalkeeper in the world, but in the last couple of years he's made calamitous mistakes, so reflecting on that, he's become a liability. You know, earlier on this season, Solskjaer warned De Gea that his number 1 jersey is under threat. But I think we should put Dean Henderson as number 1 now, I really do. And like I said, there's good players at Man United, and you know, there's players that are really, really improving. Quite a few players that have impressed me this season. You know, Dean Henderson has done well in the games he's played in. I've been very, very impressed with Luke Shaw. He's been our player of the season by far. Eric Bailly, you know, he's done well in the games he's been involved in. Solskjaer did confirm that Man United have open talks with Eric Bailly over a new contract. Bailly's into the final 15 months of his current deal. My only element of concern about Bailly is that he's injury prone, so in that aspect he's a liability. You know, Wan-Bissaka's done well in the games he's played in this season. Fred, I think he's really, really improved. Was getting the best out of Paul Pogba before he got that thigh injury. You know, McTominay's a decent player, but he's not on that level as we want him to be as yet. Donny van de Beek's a good player when he plays, but he seldom plays for Man United. He's played nowhere near as much as I expected. You know, Bruno Fernandes, he's an exceptional player. You know, he's made a difference in the team. Greenwood's done very, very well for us since he broke into our first team squad. Rashford's good, but he can also have bad games as well. And Cavani's made a fantastic impact since he's come in. We'll be doing another video, I think, later on. And like I say, we've got a big game tonight against West Ham. So anyway, guys, that's everything to update today. Drop your comments, like, explore on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless. See you all again very, very soon.